1 year ago, a brutal massacre took place at the Mercaz HaRav yeshiva when 8 students were murdered by an Arab resident of East Jerusalem. In memorial for the slain, 8 Torah scrolls were dedicated in the yeshiva. Menachem Gottlieb was there. It was 1 year ago when an Arab terrorist murdered 8 students of the Mercaz HaRav yeshiva in Jerusalem. In commemoration of the students, the Talmud Bavli was completed in a project which engaged thousands throughout the world, and 8 Torah scrolls were dedicated, each scroll in memory of one of the holy martyrs.
My son Avram David was killed here a year ago this day.
There's light, but there's also darkness. There's great happiness, but there's also sadness.
The finishing of 8 Torah scrolls, which will now be dedicated to the communities of our beloved holy Jews that were murdered, and we're saying the nation's alive, and this eternal dream of the nation coming back to its land is not ending. On the contrary, it's getting stronger and stronger.
The meaning of this is unbelievable. I'm standing in the room where a year ago 8 Kedoshim who devoted their lives to Torah were unfortunately killed, and to now turn that into 8 Sifrei Torah, Leilu Nishmatam, is very special.
You know, this event today started with the initiative of some very, very kind people.
One of my sons was in the library when the terrorists entered, and Baruch Hashem, he was able to run out and save himself.
On the steps behind me, we came up into the Beit Midrash, and there I was met by Rav Yerachmiel Weiss, who's the Rosh Yeshiva of Yeshiva Latzirim. And he hugged me and he said, Hashem Natan v'Hashem Lakach, God gives and God takes. And that was, I found out that my son had been one of the people killed.
The Sifrei Torah, the Torah scrolls, were written up to the last few words. The completion of the scrolls was undertaken by rabbis from the yeshiva, friends of the murdered boys, and their families.
It's a very incredibly powerful moment to be here, and Mercaz HaRav, it should be a big nechama for the families and for all of Klal Yisrael.
Very difficult time. Dual emotions. On the one hand, we sat there and we wrote the last words of a Sefer Torah, and this is the Torah response. On the other, it's written in the name of a young, wonderful young man who was killed, murdered brutally. But these dual emotions are the emotions that Jews live with throughout the centuries.
It's nice to see the boys who are Avram David's friends working on the Sifrei Torah.
Today we are giving our answer to all of our enemies who want to destroy us and take us out of Eretz Israel.
While mourning is a somewhat private event, when an attack is launched against Jews, because they are Jews, it takes on special significance, both to those who survived and to the Jewish community as a whole.
Avelut, that mourning is something very, very private, is very, very internal. And one of the things that's been difficult over the year is how, because this was a terrorist attack which caught many, many people's attention, how it became something very, very public.
You know, when he went to yeshiva, there was a way he left. He left. He went out into the world, and I always comforted myself that he was going to come back. He'd grow up. He'd get married. He'd bring home a wife. He'd bring home children. And I think the hardest, he's not coming back. And I think that's the hardest.
I felt such tremendous support from the community, both near and far, since the moment since the moment that I knew I was attached and connected to this attack.
So part of the mourning process is also being connected to the public, which was very shocked by this terrorist attack.
The Mercaz HaRav yeshiva and the adjacent Yeshiva Latzirim Torah High School are among the most elite of Torah institutions in Israel. The finest of boys learn there. All of those murdered by the Arab terrorists are remembered for their purity and righteousness.
As one of the other fathers said, these were what they call in Hebrew korbanot tzibor, public sacrifices.
In the holy tefillah of Av HaRachamim it says, "V'nikesi damam lo nikesi v'Hashem shoichem b'tzion." That when a soul, when a body is taken away, is basically as though part of God is also taken away from us.
People live to be 100 years old and don't find their passion in life, and I was always so impressed how at 16 Avram David had found his passion in learning.
Over the last few months, I've had the opportunity to learn what these boys are truly about and what they were about, and they're showing us how important it is that Torah must live on, and this has just truly been an incredible opportunity.
As per tradition, the Torah scrolls were marched to their new home, accompanied by singing and dancing, despite the pain of the loss of the young boys.